You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
He's in the building!
Drink the moment. Drink it.
I said empty your mind.
Coquettish and coy. Ow. Ow.
What?
And there's people that are dying.
The wickedly talented.
More than great. It was historic.
Crack is
World.
Oh, good for you.
I have to apologize.
One of the hottest.
Hello, and welcome back to The Reheat, a podcast that re-examines the hottest celebrity news and scandals of yesteryear and asks, how would we react to the same events if they transpired today? I'm your co-host, Sadaf and Sarah.
And I'm Sarah Sahagian. Last week, we dissected the real-life story behind one of the most glamorous crimes in history, the House of Gucci murders. This week, the tragic, infuriating, and ultimately inspirational tale of Monica Lewinsky. So, Sadaf, what are your memories of what we will refer to as the Clinton-Lewinsky sex scandal in the 90s?
I mean, there's that infamous I did not have relations, all that. And then there's also the blue dress. There's also all the little moments that really stick out. And I think the thing that mostly came to mind was that sex is a taboo. That's what I learned from that period. I was really young at the time, so it really stuck with me. But also that it can ruin a politician's career, kind of. And it can also completely decimate a woman's reputation. Yeah, it was really devastating at that time, but as I grew up and I actually learned the depth behind it, it's only become more reprehensible.
It is so easy, even if you are accomplished, even if you are hardworking, to have people completely take away everything you've ever accomplished and reduce you to a cruel joke, which is
Right.
what happened with Monica Lewinsky, and we're going to be discussing that today. So, she was born in California in 1973. Her father, Bernard, was a successful oncologist, and her mother, Marcia, was a writer. Marcia actually penned the 1996 book, The Private Lives of the Three Tenors, which sounds a lot like the sort of thing Sadaf and I would write if we were going to co-author something together.
Absolutely.
I want to read this book. I need to find a copy of it. According to Monica, high school was hard for her. Other kids taunted Lewinsky about her weight, but it wasn't just the bullying that she had to deal with. Her parents, whose marriage had been acrimonious throughout her childhood, were also in the midst of a divorce. A bright spot during her adolescence was the time she spent in drama class, taught by a teacher named Andy Blyler. Post high school, Lewinsky had a 5-year affair with this teacher, which makes me very sad. Blyler insists the relationship did not become intimate until 1992, when Ms. Lewinsky was no longer his student, but she was still a teen.
I think it's also worth noting, by the way, that even though she might have been into her 20s while they were dating at some point, it's still problematic because we can't forget what kind of dynamic they had. It was teacher-student. That doesn't just go away. Those authoritarian relations just don't disappear. They stay in your head. There's a reason that they were together in the first place, and it doesn't put her in the advantageous position.
Absolutely not. After studying for a year at Santa Monica College in LA, Monica transferred to Lewis and Clark, a liberal arts college in Portland, where she earned a degree in psychology. When she was 21, she applied for an internship at the White House. In her 1999 interview with Barbara Walters, Monica confessed she wasn't terribly interested in politics at the time, but she was looking for a new start. She wanted to end her 5-year affair with Andy Blyler, who was also now living in Portland. She wanted to start over in a new city, and it was an excellent opportunity. Everyone knows that these internships are very prestigious.
Of course.
In June of 1995, Monica Lewinsky, 21, arrived at the White House as an unpaid intern in the office of the Chief of Staff, Leon Panetta. According to Monica, she and the president soon began making eyes at each other. The flirtation escalated until one day, Monica lifted her blazer to reveal the top of her thong underwear. The gesture intrigued the president, who summoned her for a private meeting in his office. The sexual relationship between Bill and Monica began in November of 1995 and would continue until 1997. To this day, Monica maintains that while she regrets the relationship, it was completely consensual. And so, putting aside the fact that Clinton was married, like, we know it's infidelity, but put that aside, is it okay when you're the president of the United States to have a consensual affair with an intern? Is that even possible?
No, every one of those words is so awful. An affair, first of all, is an issue in itself.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, his wife was Hillary Clinton, so this is the woman he was doing this to. And then on top of that, it's so confusing to me because these two people have a hell of an age gap. So what are you even talking about? What are you really doing? I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, she was only a few years older than his daughter, Chelsea.
Ugh,
And she was also an unpaid intern. Like, she wasn't even being paid to be there.
no.
It's unfathomable, the power differential.
100%. I mean, I'm sure he had not seen a thong ever before, so good for him. But like, I just can't see any part of what the appeal would have been for Monica. Ugh.
Yeah. I can't either, but we've all made mistakes while young.
Oh, totally.
There were a lot of people. Yeah, there were a lot of people I was into when I was 21. Where looking back, I mean, they're disgusting. Monica Lewinsky's affair with the president was ultimately revealed because of another sex scandal. Former Arkansas civil servant Paula Jones alleged Bill Clinton sexually harassed her in 1991 while he was governor of Arkansas. In 1997, Jones sued Clinton for damages related to the harassment. Along with a list of other witnesses, Monica was subpoenaed by lawyers for Paula Jones. Jones's lawyers had been tipped off by Monica's confidant and supposed friend, Linda Tripp. Tripp, who had aspirations of writing a tell-all book about her time in politics, had recorded her conversations with Monica for months. Monica denied ever having had a sexual relationship with the president, but obviously that wasn't true. It was in these recorded phone calls that Monica intimated Clinton had pressured her to lie about their relationship. In a January 17th, 1998 sworn deposition related to the Paula Jones sexual harassment case, Clinton himself denied having a sexual relationship with Monica. Tripp urged Monica to keep a now infamous blue dress from the Gap, which was soiled in semen from a sexual encounter with Bill Clinton. The dress would become indisputable proof that the affair had indeed happened. In January of 1998, Tripp, Monica's supposed friend, handed her tapes over to special counsel Kenneth Starr in exchange for immunity from prosecution. In general, Tripp is seen as a sort of Judas figure in this whole story. So, Sadaf, do you think that's fair?
It's tricky because I will say when the story first came out and I first learned about it over the years, she did sound like the villain in the story to me. I mean, she took advantage of a friendship that she had with Monica. That is a really special thing. And she used it to kind of get this book that she wanted, to get the story out, to get Clinton out of there, all these other kind of plans that she had in her head. She used this woman for it, who was a young woman who was new to the White House, who probably could have used guidance. So it's very easy to put her in that role. But I think what's so tricky is what we end up doing is putting these two women in these horrible roles. Monica is deemed the slut and the whore and the harlot, and Linda gets to be the villain of it all, but also at the same time the one who heroically saved the day and exposed this. But then what about Bill? We're not talking about Bill. I think even after all these years, he still gets a much cleaner branding from this entire escapade because what happened to those two women? Their names are infamous. You think Bill Clinton, you still think president before you think anything else.
Mm-hmm. He is the bad guy, and yet I don't know if history really truly remembers it that way.
No, and it never will, but we'll get back to that.
On January 19th, 1998, internet gossip column The Drudge Report published a column identifying Monica and revealing the alleged affair with Clinton. It was Lucianne Goldberg, the literary agent with whom Tripp was working, who tipped them off. 2 days later, on January 21st, the mainstream media ran with the story of the affair. The media maelstrom led to Clinton's denial of the relationship. Here is a clip of that.
But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people. Thank you.
The 9 intimate sexual encounters shared by the intern and the president in person were not the full extent of the relationship. Clinton phoned Monica on dozens of occasions. When Hillary Clinton was out of town, the two would have phone sex and talk about their days. These phone conversations continued after Monica was transferred to the Pentagon. So their relationship was not as brief as I think some of us remember it was based on the way the media reported it at the time. Eventually, Monica and independent counsel Ken Starr worked out a full immunity agreement covering both her and her parents, all of whom Starr had threatened with prosecution. Starr, who had actually known Clinton when they were both used from Arkansas trying to make it big, was originally appointed independent counsel to the White House to investigate Whitewater, a real estate scandal the Clintons were embroiled in. It was with the Monica Lewinsky affair that Ken Starr finally found grounds for impeachment. It's important to understand here that Monica was a young woman who was being threatened with what could have been serious jail time when she was offered this immunity deal. So making the plea with Starr made sense. Remember, Monica had lied under oath about her relationship with Clinton. Perjury is a serious crime, and it can involve years of jail time. On September 9th, 1998, Ken Starr submitted the now famous Starr Report to the House of Representatives. It outlined a case for impeaching Clinton on 11 grounds, which included perjury, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and abuse of power. The report was also notoriously explicit, containing such intimate detail as when Monica and Bill had kissed, the occasions when they engaged in oral sex, and it even made mention of Monica's menstrual cycles. Much of the public and the political debate over the scandal revolved around whether oral sex counts as sex. Clinton eventually admitted he'd been intimate with Monica, but he maintained he was truthful when he denied having had sexual relations with her under oath because they never had intercourse. Monica has gone on record saying similar things, telling Barbara Walters they were, quote, messing around, not having sex. This sparked a huge political debate that Time and CNN weighed in on. This Time CNN poll they conducted where they asked Americans if they believed oral sex was sex. And 87% of Americans responded that yes, they did.
87% of Americans know what they're talking about.
So this is the same man who in 1992 admitted to smoking weed but said he didn't inhale. What is with Bill Clinton and specious semantic arguments?
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys who's in that position, like we talked previously about Jerry Seinfeld dating a younger woman, where really the best you can say is, I didn't know how old she was.
Yeah.
How do you walk yourself around these incredibly massive catastrophes? You can't really. So you have to have those ridiculously specious and semantic arguments. It's embarrassing, though.
Bill Clinton loves the technicality. Like, he loves it.
Yeah.
So this seems like a dumb question, but it was really important in the 90s and dominated a lot of the cultural conversation. Is oral sex actually sex, Sadaf?
I would say 100% yes. And I think part of the thing is because sex was especially taboo at that time and for years before, and still is in so many ways. But oral sex is something that was especially taboo because there wasn't really a lot talked about it, you know? So then it ends up being even scarier. And then it's like, is this even a part of that? Is this something else entirely? I mean, that is a technicality in itself. You could call a blowjob a technicality, but I think that might only benefit Bill Clinton in this case. I don't think it's 100% oral sex is sex.
I think to say otherwise is to buy into a heteronormative definition that suggests sex
That's also
is
true.
only coitus between a man and a woman. I mean, it's just so retrograde that it's kind of laughable at this point. Like, obviously, oral sex is sex. But at the time, this was a real bar burner of a debate. Like, we just could not stop talking about this. Let's consider for a second how humiliating it must have been for the public to know such intimate details as the workings of Monica's menstrual cycle. Like, the fact that the Starr Report revealed such personal details of just even the inner workings of her body. I don't know if I could have continued to show my face in public. Like,
Yeah.
I have so much respect for Monica that she didn't just die of embarrassment right then. I mean, this is abuse, what she went through. This is public abuse. It's even beyond public shaming. Like, she was slut shamed, she was called a bimbo, but to have nothing be private anymore, nothing be sacred. Like, oh my God, talk about having your humanity stripped away.
Well, that's what I was going to say, that it's so dehumanizing. I mean, he dehumanized her from the moment he could refer to her as that woman. And the other thing that this reminds me of, this is a witch burning. That's what this is. Because the grounds came down to, you are a harlot. You are doing something to the men of our village, the men of the White House. You're corrupting them. What are you doing? We've got to get you out. Even the same way that she was pushed far away from him physically in the White House so she wouldn't be near him. That is a level of that dehumanization and treating her like she's this evil energy and she's got to be taken away. It's disgusting, but that's exactly what it is. And it still happens, by the way, to this day, especially in other places and in other cultures. Women get dehumanized and they get turned into these evil monsters for no reason.
Absolutely. And what happened to her is unconscionable. But this begs another question. Why is America so obsessed with politicians' sex lives at all? I mean, obviously, what Clinton did was an abuse of power, but that wasn't even really the debate they were having, whether you should have a president who abuses young unpaid interns this way.
Right.
It was really just about his sex life and whether it was seedy that he was getting oral sex in the Oval Office. So why is America so obsessed with stories like this? Because they are.
Yeah, they are. It's really interesting because I think politics generally is incredibly sexless. They kind of have to be. That's the whole point. But that also means because humans are humans, they're going to try and inject it anywhere they can find it. I mean, why not? Also, Americans treat politicians as royals. Let's not forget the Kennedy family, who will probably haunt us for the rest of our lives, and we're Canadians. So, I mean, they try to do that wherever they can. I think in Canada, our politics are even drier, so there's less space for that. I don't know. What do you think, Sarah?
I mean, politics are definitely theater in America. They have perfected the art of turning politics into entertainment, right? Which is why so many Canadians will watch the American primaries debates and maybe might not even watch the federal leaders debate. The primaries in the US are basically the Super Bowl for politics. Their election campaigns go on for so damn long. Like, that fosters politics as theater when you just have your election cycle begin the minute the previous election is over.
Yeah, and I think when you treat something like a spectacle, those people become performers in our eyes. And let's not forget, politicians are celebrities. Even in Canada, our dull-ass politicians, they're also celebrities to a certain degree. So we're going to treat them the same way. That means we're going to sexualize them and we're going to try and get any kind of lurid scandals out of them if we can.
The impeachment proceedings were no doubt difficult for Monica. She was followed by the press and had to live with the knowledge that Congress was debating her relationship with Clinton instead of doing the important work of governing a country. However, she didn't actually get called as a witness. In fact, there was no live testimony. They just went through the evidence Starr had put together during his investigation, and the testimony witnesses like Clinton, Monica, and Monica's mom, Marcia, as well as Linda Tripp, had presented to a grand jury Starr convened earlier in 1998. And that grand jury was supposed to explore the question of Clinton's wrongdoing, read the covering up of the affair with Monica. Clinton was the first sitting president ever to testify in a grand jury investigating his own conduct. In his August 1998 testimony, he admitted to the affair with Monica, which arguably contradicted his insistence in his earlier testimony on the Paula Jones case, wherein Clinton insisted their relationship had not been sexual. After appearing before Starr's grand jury, Clinton went on television to admit to the affair in front of the American people.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Miss Lewinsky that was not appropriate. In fact, it was wrong. It constituted a critical lapse in judgment and a personal failure on my part for which I am solely and completely responsible.
So he did confess, but it's really kind of an apology about how he sorted the American people into his wife and to Chelsea. He doesn't really acknowledge the full extent of what he did or the power imbalance that was present there. It's a cop-out, in my opinion. What do you think?
Oh, totally. It also sounds like he fell susceptible to the manipulations of some harlot. Like, that's how I hear it, the way that he's even wording it. Ugh.
That's the subtext, for sure.
Yeah.
And also, like, let's not give him any props for being honest, because he waited to the last possible minute to do that.
Yeah, and he lied before. So he was literally driven to the point where he had to do this. He didn't have another choice. If he wanted to have any kind of career moving forward or reputation, he had to do this. There's no good intentions here.
Yeah, I mean, he's the worst. He is the villain of this story. I think that
100%.
is indisputable. So leading up to, during, and after the impeachment proceedings, the media frequently referred to Monica as a stalker who threw herself at Clinton. But it's important to note that she did not even have his phone number. The calls that happened between them were therefore always initiated by him. Bill and Monica also exchanged presents at various points. For her part, Monica gifted Bill with several items, including a tie he wore on the day Madeleine Albright was sworn in as Secretary of State. Clinton...
What a feminist moment.
Yeah. What do you wear for that important historic moment?
What do you wear for that moment? The tie that your mistress gave you.
Yep, absolutely. Great symbolism, Bill. Great symbolism. Clinton also bestowed multiple gifts on Monica, including a book of poetry and a hat pin.
Oh, I mean, listen, they liked each other and they were in a relationship. Today, you could call it a situationship. I'd say it was pretty legit. They were giving each other gifts. And by the way, she couldn't be stalking him because, as you said, not only did she not have his phone number, but he's surrounded by Secret Service. It's kind of impossible. Like, there was no way. Come on.
No one can stalk the president of the United States. That's not a thing anyone can do.
No.
And I actually think that now we as a society use the word stalker very casually. And I think that this is the moment where it lost the severity of the definition.
Right.
Every aspect of Monica's personhood was attacked by the media, from her body to her intellect. New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd won a Pulitzer Prize for her columns about what the media would commonly refer to as Monica-gate. Dowd described Monica as, quote, a ditzy, predatory White House intern who might have lied under oath for a job at Revlon. Ironically, Dowd has come out as a strong supporter of the Me Too movement, but she has not apologized for the way she bullied a young Monica about her sex life in print. In his 1999 best-selling book about the Clinton-Lewinsky scandal, A Vast Conspiracy, now disgraced reporter Jeffrey Toobin characterizes Monica as vapid. The picture he paints of her is of a superficial woman who was not particularly bright. Says Toobin of Monica, quote, she made little impact anywhere she went. Toobin argued Monica lacked wit, great beauty, and any real knowledge of politics. According to him, all that she had that was appealing to Clinton was, quote, sexual availability.
I'm so fascinated by this because I think it goes back to that harlot witch write-off that she had to be the one who was like the succubus, who was like the one who captured him and who seduced him and was desperate and crazy. And it's all rooted in misogyny. I know a lot of people don't like that word, but that's what it is. And Jeffrey Toobin and Maureen Dowd come from that same generation of people who don't really see that. I don't think they can see the misogyny in their thinking.
Oh, yeah. The world of comedy was also exceptionally cruel to Monica. Late-night talk show hosts had a field day with the scandal. On The Tonight Show, Jay Leno quipped, now the latest news reports say Monica Lewinsky has put on 50 pounds. Did you see that? 50 pounds. If this keeps up, she may drop to the knees just from the weight.
Wow.
For iconic sketch series Saturday Night Live, the Clinton-Lewinsky scandal was a seemingly endless source of fodder. Fat jokes were a big theme for these skits, as were slut-shaming comments at Monica's expense. Here's an example of the sort of comedy SNL wrote about this scandal. In the skit, Monica Lewinsky is portrayed by Molly Shannon, and Linda Tripp is played by John Goodman. Let's not even get into the many, many reasons why that's problematic.
Yeah.
Both characters are shown eating large quantities of food, including KFC and cake.
Anyway, I just want to tell you that I'm definitely going to wear the dress that I wore to the radio address that still has a presidential spunk on it.
Yeah? You're what? You're gonna get it clean?
Well, yeah.
See, I would suggest another outfit that makes you, makes you more beautiful.
Look, I don't care about being beautiful, okay? What I care about is being thin. Thin. That's all I care about is a thin.
Are you kidding me? That's all I care about.
I'm so disappointed in Molly Shannon and John Goodman for participating in this, but
I know all your faves are problematic. Never have heroes.
it's just reprehensible, I think, because it's so easy, and easy comedy is not good comedy, by the way. And then on the other side of it all, the fact that fat people are so vilified just in general, not just in comedy, but in politics, like we're seeing with the story, but in every other area. is so disgusting to me, and I'm so glad that we do have a body positivity movement that's happening now, but it's moving slowly. For the record, quite a beautiful woman, Monica Lewinsky, but it doesn't even matter anyway. It's not the point.
Absolutely. And so I think it was one of those things where it's kind of like, and larger women will say this when they report rape, when they report sexual harassment, they often experience disbelief from the people they're reporting to
Oh.
because it's kind of like the assumption that, oh, who would want you? Because the mainstream
Exactly.
definition of what's attractive is so limited to thin bodies. And that's changing a bit. And we know that there are so many different bodies that people are attracted to. What people find sexy is so individual, but the media has really sold us this lie that people only want thin bodies. And so if Monica Lewinsky had an affair with the president, she must have somehow, as Maureen Dowd said, been predatory.
Yeah, 100%. And the other part of this that is so disappointing is that things have not changed very much as far as Hollywood representation goes. In American Crime Story impeachment right now, Sarah Paulson, who's playing Linda Tripp, is wearing a fat suit to
Yeah.
play her. Fat suits are foul and should not be used ever. Hire a fat actor, please. It's not that hard. I love Sarah Paulson, but we might as well throw her into that John Goodman and Molly Shannon category because what you're doing is making it seem like another part of the spectacle. You're making it seem like the body itself is the performance, and that's not it. By the way, Clive Owen is playing Bill Clinton, the suave, stunning, handsome Clive Owen. So, just throw it all out the window.
That's very flattering to Bill Clinton.
Very
Like, I
generous.
mean, but you know what? He's such a narcissist. He probably thinks he does look like Clive Owen. That's my theory.
There's so much I want to say, but I will save for another time.
So, in response to Starr's document on October 8th, the House authorized a wide ranging impeachment inquiry. So, now we're getting to the actual impeachment process. And on December 11th, the House Judiciary Committee approved 3 articles of impeachment. On December 19th, the House officially impeached Clinton, making him just the second president in history to be impeached by Congress. However, in order to be removed from office, both the Congress and the Senate must vote for the impeachment of a president. In fact, it takes a 2/3 majority of senators to go through with impeaching a U.S. commander-in-chief. On February 12, 1999, Clinton was acquitted by the Senate. Therefore, Congress's attempt to impeach did not take effect, and Clinton remained the president. Once the impeachment ordeal was over, Monica attempted to reclaim her narrative. By this point, she was still a very young woman of only 25, but she had already lived through more public scrutiny than practically anyone else on the planet. Monica's attempts to rehabilitate her image started when she sat down with Barbara Walters in March of 1999. In this interview, she apologized to the entire country for her role in the impeachment crisis. Over the course of the interview, Barbara asked tough, sometimes snarky questions, but for what it's worth, she did give Monica the space to express herself at length. Here's the opening salvo for that notorious interview.
Monica, you have been described as a bimbo, a stalker, a seductress. Describe yourself.
I think I'm very loving. I'm very loyal. I think I'm intelligent. I think I certainly feel that I have been misportrayed in the past year, and unfairly so.
What do you think about that clip, Sadaf?
Well, first of all, I love that Barbara Walters, who is an interviewer who I have a lot of complicated feelings about, but I like that she asked Monica to describe herself. But what breaks my heart is when Monica laughs a little when she says that I believe that I'm intelligent, because everyone's taken that away from her. So now it's supposed to be a funny, silly thing that, oh, actually, she's pretty smart. It takes me back to, of all people, Kim Kardashian, when she spoke to Oprah and had to redeem herself after the sex tape came out and was trying to justify it, which is not something either of these women have to do, because in both cases, these were the causes of the men that they were with. Those men are still involved. They don't have to speak to any of this. It's a very similar kind of testimony, even if you want to call it.
Absolutely. So Monica's mantra at this time period seems to have been if you can't beat them, join them. She also poked fun of herself in public in a move that feels like a desperate kid trying to befriend the schoolyard bully. She appeared on SNL in May of 1999. Here's a clip from one of two skits where she was featured. In it, Monica answers questions from callers seeking romantic advice. Monica is accompanied by a character referred to as Ladies' Man, portrayed by Tim Meadows.
Now, Miss Lewinsky will be quite helpful to us because I have been told that when it comes to matters of the heart and her own personal relationships, she is known for showing very good judgment. Is that correct?
That's right, Leon.
That's right.
In fact, I'd say I've really only been wrong once.
Mm-hmm.
The attempt to change her image by laughing at herself failed. In a cruel, petty review by Tom Shales for the Washington Post, the author wrote, "Ever the shrinking violet, make that never the shrinking violet." Monica Lewinsky popped up in what might be called her TV comedy debut, unless you consider any or all of her appearances laughable.
Why is he so angry? Why are they all so angry?
Exactly. What did she do to them personally? Like, Tom, who hurt you? Why are you saying this?
Take it easy. Like, chill. It's SNL. I think it actually, I understand her reasoning to go on SNL and redeem
Mhm.
herself on that platform and maybe try and win them back. I also don't think she needed to do it.
I agree. I understand why she did it because, I mean, at this stage, I feel like she was willing to try anything. Like,
Yeah.
well, maybe if I go on and make fun of myself, then people will see that I'm a real person and that I can be fun. I can be in on the joke, but she was never going to be in on the joke because they wanted her to be the joke.
Yeah, and by the way, SNL, all of these places, we've talked about this before, but their target audience, whether they want to admit it or not, especially at that time, is young white guys. Those people are not about to change their minds by seeing her on there. That's the bottom
Mhm.
line. And I completely agree with her wanting to go on for the same reasons you said, and I understand it. I may have even done it, but she wasn't about to change any minds, I don't think.
So it was clear the world wasn't ready to give Monica the fresh start she deserved. Over the next few years, she seemed to be trying to make her notoriety work in her favor. Monica launched an ill fated line of handbags. She also signed a $1 million contract to act as a spokesperson for weight loss company Jenny Craig. Monica even tried her hand at reality TV, hosting a dating show on Fox called Mr. Personality in 2003. And when I heard that, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if she got Chris Harrison's job on The Bachelor?
Oh my god. I really love that, although I'm very curious to know how that entire franchise would agree with her current politics, but I really love that idea.
Yeah, okay. ABC, call me. By 2005, Monica was done with being chased by paparazzi as she lived her life in New York City. And so she packed her bags and went to graduate school in the United Kingdom. Monica received her master's degree in social psychology from the London School of Economics in 2006 and lived a pretty quiet life for about a decade. Then in 2014, Monica wrote an op ed for Vanity Fair about her experiences with having very publicly been shamed. In this piece, Monica made it clear she completely regrets the affair with Bill Clinton, but still considers it a consensual relationship between adults. More importantly, she argues that the time has come to take back my narrative and give a purpose to my past. Monica was motivated to speak out by the story of Tyler Clementi, an 18-year-old Rutgers freshman who died by suicide after he was live streamed kissing another man without his knowledge. Monica expressed a need to articulate how being humiliated on the internet can ruin a person's life like it ruined hers. The next year, Monica electrified the world with her viral TED Talk, The Price of Shame. Here's a clip from her speech.
The attention and judgment that I received, not the story, but that I personally received, was unprecedented. I was branded as a tramp, tart, slut, whore, bimbo, and of course, that woman. I was seen by many, but actually known by few.
She was smart because she used the fact that she is such a public figure. She could have completely disappeared. She didn't have to come in front of a camera ever again, but she smartly used it. And I think deciding to be a spokesperson for exactly what she went through and why that's shitty was really, really smart. What do you think, Sarah?
So I think the world wasn't ready for Monica comeback in 2014. I think she made the world ready. And I
Ooh.
think she did so by being such a compelling and persuasive writer and speaker. I
Yeah.
think the way she articulated her case about the price of shame, and she admitted that she almost was driven to suicide when she was younger because she was so pilloried, because there was no escape. And that vulnerability, but also the very salient arguments she makes about what's wrong with the internet were too compelling to ignore. Like, I feel like she helped change the world and moved us a little bit closer to Me Too. I don't want to say that Me Too was all Monica, like that she was a magician who somehow made it happen on her own, but I do think that her advocacy helped prime the world for Me Too when it happened a few years later.
Absolutely. I totally agree. She set us up for this. And hey, by the way, she's smart. That's why. She could probably say that now without laughing, but even if she wanted to, that's fine. She's hilarious. She's charming. She's beautiful. And I think you learn these things when you actually listen to her speak. Because I know so many people listening right now are probably rolling their eyes, but go listen to that whole TED talk. It's really phenomenal. And she does have so much to share. And I am so impressed by the fact that she took this horrific thing that happened to her and turned it into this super educational moment. It's really fascinating and impressive.
She is the strongest person I can think of. Like, to go from everyone in the world humiliating you collectively to then trying to save the world and save other people from the hardships you experienced when you were young. I mean, what a generous person. The world does not deserve Monica Lewinsky.
It never did. It never did.
Now it's time for Hindsight is 2021, where we discuss what Sadaf and I might have handled differently had we been the subjects of today's story.
I shouldn't have done that.
What would you have done differently, Sadaf?
I think there's so many things that I would have liked to see happen that would have been different. I wish Linda Tripp had been a better friend. I wish Monica had confided in somebody else. I wish so many different things. But I think the biggest is that I wish Bill just got a little bit more of a ringing in the public media because those two women are still the villains. They really are. I can't even believe that I know who Linda Tripp is. I shouldn't. But what about Bill? What about Bill? Just like I keep asking, what about Brad Pitt? I want to know what about Bill Clinton? He's still so beloved. He still shows up on political panels, and it's a bit ridiculous to me. So that's the thing that I wish could have changed. I wish Monica could have been given so much more grace and leniency, and somebody, a real feminist, would have sat down with her and spoken to her about her experience, and we could have gotten that perspective. That's what I would have liked to see. And also, by the way, I wish somebody would have said, blowjobs are not the end of the world. It's fine.
I know. It made our entire generation, I think it really made a lot of millennials terrified of slut shaming.
Yes,
And
yeah.
that did nothing good for us as a society. So what I would have done differently is if I had been a person of Maureen Dowd's stature, I would have just gone after Bill Clinton. Absolutely attack him for what he did. It was an abuse of power. He also lied under oath. All of that is terrible. But the unpaid intern is not the person that you should make the object of your ire. Like, come on. This was the New York friggin' Times. Like, seriously, it really shows you, based on what I've quoted from the New York Times and the Washington Post, that while I respect both of those papers and I pay money to read both of those papers, our journalism standards were a lot different back of the day. And we like to talk about how journalism is on the decline, right? Oh, how this mighty profession has fallen. But like, seriously? I feel like we might be doing better now than we were then.
I don't even know if we are, to be honest with you. I think in a lot of cases we are. But if you even look at a paper like New York Times, they still publish completely ridiculous opinions solely because they're provocative and they sell subscriptions and papers. That's always going to be the bottom line. Don't ever forget, a newspaper is still a product. They're still trying to make money. So there's that. So it also requires people who are reading all of this to just think for 2 seconds. What's actually happening here? Read between the lines because that person is also trying to put out a certain angle.
Yeah, excellent point. So to conclude Monica's story, she is now an ambassador and strategic advisor for the anti-bullying campaign Bystander Intervention. She's also produced an upcoming, much buzzed about HBO documentary called 15 Minutes of Shame. In addition, she's a contributing editor for Vanity Fair, where she has published insightful columns about topics like mental health, the Me Too movement, and male vulnerability. Of course, she's also working on Impeachment, the third season of Ryan Murphy's American Crime Story, as a producer. That means she's had input regarding how the show portrays her and that dramatic period of her life. So we already talked a little bit about how the casting of Sarah Paulson was problematic, but I am really happy for Monica that she does get a hand in how her story is told here.
Oh, totally. This was a great decision. This is the best decision on Ryan Murphy's part because he knows it's important for her to tell her story now. Also because it's a different story this way. We haven't heard this version.
No, we absolutely haven't. Regarding impeachment, Monica told Vanity Fair, "I'm so grateful for the growth we've made as a society that allows people like me, who have historically been silenced, to finally reintroduce my voice to the conversation." So, Sadaf, will you participate in my campaign to help get Monica Lewinsky the Nobel Peace Prize?
Just give it to her right now. I will do anything, Sarah. I will help you. I'm so thrilled by the fact that Monica is who she is now and how much she's accomplished. I think she's fucking amazing, to be honest, and we should all applaud that.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. Next week, we'll be discussing Brendan Fraser, another blast from the past. Now, if you want to hear more from me, you can find me on Twitter at Sarah Sahagian. Sadaf, where can listeners find you?
Listeners can find me at _Sadaf Hassan. And if you liked this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe so other listeners can find us. Thanks for listening.